Hello everyone, I am Siddhartha and today we are going to discuss the types of machine learning. So before moving to the types of machine learning, let's understand first what machine learning is. So machine learning is a field of artificial intelligence where we make computers to learn from data and improve by themselves without being explicitly programmed. So what it means, let's understand with a simple example. So instead of writing rules to detect spam emails, we feed the system examples of spam and non-spam emails. The system learns the pattern and can detect new spam email automatically. So if we talk about the types of machine learning, so there are basically three types of machine learning which we are using nowadays. So the first one is supervised learning, and second one is unsupervised learning, and third one is reinforcement learning. So the first one is supervised learning. In this model, learn from the labeled data, like we are giving the input and the respective output, and the model predict the output for the new unseen data. For example, like prediction of house price using regression and email spam detection like classification. So let's understand it in details. So as we have discussed, like in this, we are giving the input data and respective to the output also. So let's see how it works. So suppose this is your input and output. So in this, it will learn the pattern and the model is trained. Okay. So now if we will give some new input to this model, then it will predict the output of that model, output of that respective input. Okay. So now let's talk about some advantage of supervised learning along with some disadvantage also. So the first, let me write it down. So the advantage of supervised learning is high accuracy when enough labeled data is available. Okay. And the second example, the second advantage is clear objectives. Means since the data has both input and output, like labels, so the model has clear target to learn from. Okay. And the third one is versatility. So what it means, like works for both classification, spam versus not spam, and disease versus not disease, and regression like predicting price, sale or scores. Okay. And the third advantage is, and the fourth one is age of evaluation. So performance can be directly measured using metrics like accuracy, precision, recall. Okay. So the fifth advantage of supervised learning is practical and widely used. So most real-world applications like fraud detection, medical diagnosis, and recommendation system rely on supervised learning only. So there is some disadvantage also. So let's talk about some disadvantage of supervised learning. So the first disadvantage it requires labeled data. So labeling large data set is expensive, time consuming, and sometimes requires expert. Like for medical images, you require one doctor who can label the data. And the second disadvantage is not scalable for all problem. Not scalable for all problems. And the third disadvantage is risk of overfitting. Risk of overfitting. So what it means, like the model might memorize training data instead of learning general pattern, leading to poor performance of unseen data. So the fourth disadvantage is limited limited to no output. So supervised machine learning can only predict outcomes it has been trained on. It can't discover new categories or patterns. So the fifth disadvantage is bias in data. So the meaning of bias in data is if a labeled dataset contains bias, example biased hiring data, the model will learn and reproduce the bias. So this is all about the advantage and disadvantage of supervised learning. So next, moving further to the next type, which is unsupervised learning. So let me go to the slide. Yes, so unsupervised learning learn from the pattern from unlabeled data. So it learning the pattern from unlabeled data and find the cluster or hidden structure. And for example, customer segmentation and anomaly detection. So let's discuss it in detail. So in this, as I already told, like the algorithm tries to find out the hidden pattern, structure, or grouping in the data without prior knowledge of result. So it is useful for exploring clustering and pattern discovery. So the key idea is the system is given a raw data and asked to organize or simplify it. So it is like giving a child a box of Lego piece with no instruction and watching them to sort and build based on the shape or colors. So characteristic of machine learning. So let me write it down. The characteristic of unsupervised learning. So first one is no labeled output, and second one is pattern discovery, and third one is exploratory, and the fourth one is less supervision. Less supervision means no teacher guiding the process. As the teacher was guided in the supervised learning, in the unsupervised learning, there is no teacher concepts are there. And the fifth one is data-driven insights, often reveals unexpected grouping or anomalies. So the main technique which we are using in this is clustering and dimensionality reduction. So clustering means grouping the data. Let me write it down. Uh, clustering. Clustering means grouping data points based on what? Similarity. So in this we are using some algorithm like k-mean and hierarchical clustering. Okay. So for example, grouping customer based on shopping habits, or you can say marketing. And the other example like grouping is similar document or news articles. So this all are the example of clustering in the unsupervised machine learning. So the second one is dimensionality reduction. So in this, let me write it down. Dimensionality reduction. So in this, we are reducing the number of features while preserving essential information. In this, the algorithm which we are using is PCA, TSEN, and autoencoder. So these all are algorithm which we are using in this. So let's take an example. So reducing pixel in image processing. So there we are reducing the pixel of an image and visualizing high dimensionality financial data into 2D or 3D. So this can be an example of dimensionality reduction. So moving further, the application of unsupervised learning. So application of unsupervised learning. So the first one is market segmentation. Second one is anomaly detection. And third one is recommendation system. And the fourth one is document or text clustering. And the oh sorry. And the fifth one is image compression. So in the image compression, we are reducing the image data without losing quality. So let's talk about some advantage and disadvantage of this unsupervised machine learning. So advantage. So first advantage is it work with raw unlabeled data which is widely available, and second one is helps in discovering hidden pattern and unknown insight. And the third point is useful for exploring data analysis. So these are the some advantage of unsupervised learning. So now talk about some disadvantage also. So disadvantage of unsupervised learning is the first one is harder to evaluate result because no labeled like ground truth to compare with. So the second one is results may be less accurate than supervised method. And the third one is sensitive to choice of algorithm and parameters. So let's understand some examples. So in Spotify or YouTube Music, group songs with similar sound pattern into playlist. And second example like retail store. So it group customer into frequent buyers or discount seekers and premium shoppers. And in the term of cybersecurity, we can detect unusual login behavior that could mean hacking. So this is all about the unsupervised learning. So now we will see the third type of machine learning technique, which is reinforcement learning. So in the reinforcement learning, agent learn by interacting with environment using trial and error. So the key concept is agent, environment, and reward policy. So if we take some example, so it is self-driving cars or game playing agent like chess. So in chess, basically what happened when you are moving your round, then based on your the chess or bot is playing their next move. So this can be an example of reinforcement learning. So so the key idea of reinforcement learning is like teaching a dog new tricks. So if the dog does the trick correctly, you give a treat or you can say reward. If it doesn't, it get nothing or is some penalty it will get. So over the time, the dog learn what behavior gives maximum rewards. So characteristic of reinforcement learning is like trial and error, trial and error, and second one is feedback driven, and the third one is sequential decision. Sequential decision making means each action affects the future state. Okay, so the next one is long-term optimization. So in this, goal is to maximize cumulative rewards over time, not just immediate gains. Okay. So the key component of the reinforcement learning is, let me write it down. Key component. So the key component is agent, which is learner or decision maker, like robot or bot, or you can say like car, self-driving car. And the second one is environment. So the environment means the world, or the world the agent interactive with. So in that world, the agent which are which are interacting with. So this is called environment. So the third one is state. A state is the current situation or position of a robot on a grid. And the fourth one is action. Action means the choice of the agent can be made. And the fifth one is reward. Reward means the feedback from the environment. It can be positive or negative based on the performance. And there is some policy. Policy. Policy means the agent strategy for choosing action, like using which strategy this action is chosen. And the next one is value function. Value function. So value function measures a long-term reward expected from a state. So in the examples and application, you can take as game playing, robotics, self-driving car, recommendation system, healthcare system, etc. So if we'll talk about the advantage of reinforcement learning, so it can be solve complex problem that other machine learning method can't. And the second advantage is like learn from experience rather than fixed data set. And the third one is powerful for dynamic and real-time environment. And the fourth one is produces a strategies that adapt over time. So there is some advantage. So some disadvantage also be there. So the disadvantage are like it require a lot of training data and computation, and the learning can be slow due to trial and error, and it may take wrong path if reward signal are poorly designed, and hard to implement in real world scenario where mistake can be costly, like in the self-driving car. So this is all about the reinforcement learning. So I hope you guys has really understand some basic concept of machine learning and the types of machine learning. So thank you for watching this video.